welcome, and thank you all for coming. I can't believe this is our third Gala. It's just amazing how fast time goes by. When Tammy and I first got the vision, what the Lord wanted us to do, that was just over 4 years ago, it was this total faith walk for us to be able to step out and just totally just trust God to make it all happen. The only thing we were doing was just following His plan and His nudgings to move us outside the box. And just by stepping on faith, in the last 3.5 years now that we've been flying, that the people that we've touched and how they touched us is just an amazing testimony. For those that are new to Grace Home Wings, the mission statement of Grace Home Wings is pretty simple. It really, what it represents is the purpose of Grace Home Wings to show the love of Christ through the gift of aviation by offering efficient fixed-wing transport for people here in the United States. And when we stepped out on doing that 3.5 years ago, we didn't know exactly what God had intended for us to do. But we just walked out on faith. And during that time, over the last 3.5 years, what the Lord has done was that in November of 2007, we were certified by the EMS Commission here in the state of Indiana as a fixed-wing air ambulance transport. And currently, we are the only licensed and certified critical care, specialty care air ambulance in the country that does it as a charity. There is no one else that's doing this. And we get confirmations of that on a regular basis. We get about 4 to 6 calls a day from families that are in need throughout the whole entire country. It's just amazing the need that is out there. In 2010, I just calculated all these figures together. But the average cost for a commercial air ambulance service, and that's not including for insurance or anything of that nature, this is the cash price. If your insurance is not going to pay for it, this is what they need, okay? And for the exact same flights that we did last year, for the amount of missions that we did, we took all the quotes that we got from other people, and the average cost came out to about $17,000. Our average cost for the same exact missions, for the same exact level of care, I think is actually better care, because we do it for a different reason, came to about $6,900. To date, since November of 2007, Grace on Wings has given over $1 million in charitable assistance to families that didn't have it. And one of those families I want to talk about tonight. And this story is a miracle, because the power of God to make things happen is extraordinary. If you believe as much as a mustard seed, your faith will make mountains move. And God moved mountains to make this happen. When we were planning this mission this past year, you can see this is an aviation outline of the Washington, D.C. area. And we've been to D.C. a couple times before, and every time we go right here to Dulles Airport, because right in here is the FRZ. And since 9/11, no general aviation traffic has been allowed to go in and out of there, especially lifeguard flights. That's what we are, because we're a critical care transport. They won't even let us in and out of there. That's since 9/11. Why? Because of this. Oops. There we go. Right there is Ronald Reagan National Airport. Well, right there is the National Monument, Capitol Building, and right there it says avoid warning area, the White House. And right over the end of the threshold of one of the runways, right here, here's the airport, is the Pentagon. And we all know what happened in 9/11. So my wife asked me, she said, well, because of this condition of this poor lady that we were going to pick up, who you're going to meet here in just a little bit, would it be possible that, because the hospital is only 4 miles away from Ronald Reagan versus a 45-mile drive from Dulles International Airport to the hospital together. And she looked at me, I said, well, there's no way we can get in there since 9/11. And she says, well, will you try? And she gives me that look. Guys, you know what that look is, right? Absolutely. And the only thing I could turn to her and say, absolutely. So I started making phone calls to the FAA, TSA, everyone else in between, and I finally got directed to the right people to talk to. And I told them about the situation, what we are, what we're trying to do, and we want to go in and get this patient who's at George Washington. And they said to us, well, we'll send you a link, fill out all the information. And, and you need a letter from George Washington. I needed to write a letter and had to do everything online. We needed to get their social security numbers, places of birth, for everybody that was on the flight. If one thing changed, it was off. But they didn't guarantee until they went back and did an investigation on all of us to see if we would be able to get it or not. So they said I had to have it in by Friday at 4 o'clock. And we had a couple of days to put this mission together, so we got the paperwork and we submitted it by Friday, on Friday before 4 o'clock. And they said I would know an answer by 5 o'clock on Monday. Well, I get out of surgery on Monday at 4 o'clock, and I'm sitting in the office. I'm just waiting for this email, right? 5 o'clock comes, 6 o'clock comes, 7 o'clock. I'm in there until 8 o'clock at night waiting for this email, and nothing comes. So I just said, oh, well. Because before I hit the submit button, I prayed about it. And so I started planning to go ahead and we're going to go to Dulles. And so we would set everything up to go to Dulles. And what happened was that the day of the mission, on Tuesday morning, we were delayed in Indianapolis because there was a thunderstorm over Indy. So we were grounded for about an hour. And all the flight plans had been submitted. We already contacted the ground ambulance people. We got everything all going. And sure enough, as we were sitting there waiting, I get this email from TSA. This is an hour after we were supposed to leave. And I opened it up and I read the letter and it said, you were approved. And I said, praise God. But I thought about it for a second. I actually thought about it for a second and said, if I don't say a word, no one will ever know. And we'll just do the mission, go to Dulles, and that'll be it. I said for a second. I turned to Tammy and I said, hey, we got approved. She got on the phone with the husband and just telling him we got approved. So that means I have to scrap everything, refile everything, and do it all the right way. And so here we are. Remember all these areas of restricted areas? Oh, so there we are. There's the 200 feet above the ground before we landed at Ronald Reagan National Airport. There's the National Monument. There's the Capitol building back there. And that one little building right there, that's the White House. And when this picture was taken, Tammy snapped it outside the aircraft. We were 200 feet right above the top of the Pentagon, landing on 15. And we were the first plane since 9/11 to be given permission to land there. When we showed up on the ramp, they went ahead and said, who are you people, and who gave you authority to land here? Because they were totally surprised. And I talked to the guy the day before and said, hey, will you give me a discount on the fuel and, waive the fees and everything? He says, I've been here before 9/11. Let me tell you something. No one comes in here. You guys all go to Dulles. And I said, what if we do get in? He says, if you do get in, I'll cut you a fuel break and I'll waive all your fees. Boy, was he backtracking on that. We walked in there and he said, an unprecedented event happened here today. Absolutely. Don't ever underestimate anything by the power of God. God works miracles every day. And this young lady that we were going to pick up, who was only 25, suffered a stroke due to a chiropractic manipulation. And she was hospitalized in George Washington. And family was told of the worst case scenario. She will either be locked in or never be able to function again. And a locked-in syndrome is basically you can only move your eyes to communicate. You're trapped inside. And she was in a coma when Johnny first called us. And just a couple of days before the transport, she woke up. And when we got there, and they arrived, Johnny was doing a video, and I didn't even know it, during the whole transport of this journey from D.C. to the Rehab Institute in Chicago. And I want to share that with you now.